Hey guys, welcome back to a tutorial. In this step, we're going to do some dot work over the line art we did in the previous step. I like applying dot work to my work because it gives it extra volume and depth, without having to use more color variations. It also gives it a distinct look and style, which is key when developing a personal style. We will start by locking the line art layer using the lock tool. This will save us from annoying mishappenings such as working on the wrong layer, which is painfully common if one is not paying enough attention. After the layer is locked, let's create a new layer beneath the previous one, and rename it to dot work. Here is where we will work during this step. Once it's created, let's start. I have created a custom brush for this task. You can see and tweak its settings in the brush window. For this task. You can see and tweak its settings in the brush window. This scatter effect is achieved by tweaking the spacing option, which separates the line into dots, and then adds more space onto them. Now, the scattering options are the ones which will give the brush a less organized look. If you only use the spacing option, the dots will only go in a straight line. Tweaking the count option will give us more dots per stroke, which will help us cover a wider area quicker. While the count jitter option will displace the dots in a horizontal way. Finally, the scatter slider will make the dots move farther from the center of the brush. Using this brush, we will start shading the line art. I personally prefer using this brush in a small size. In this case, it is 6 points. This will make the dot work also have a texture-like appearance. When using this brush, it is ideal to do the strokes in a circular motion, and without raising the tablet pen before you are done with the section you are working on. This is because, just like with a real pencil, it will create smudges and lines where the texture will look jagged because of the difference in tones. The circular motions will prevent this from happening since they cover a wider area than stroke lines. Using this brush, you can also create different intensities. Applying the same circular motions onto the same space will darken the texture in that area, which can be used to express depth or simply the position and order of the elements in an illustration. This will depend also on what you decide will be the light source for your illustration. In this case, I'm considering the line to come from the left top corner, which makes my shading go to the right side. I'm also considering some soft light on the right, as to create more volume and not make that side too dark. Soft light will create a weaker light than the main light source, and will also avoid the shadows to reach all the way to the edge of any section you are working on, giving the appearance of volume. When creating light with the texture, you can use the eraser tool to give the lighting a bit more strength by erasing parts of the dot work with a clean stroke. Keep in mind that all of these elements exist within a same composition, so it's a good idea to use the dot work shading to emphasize on this. A good way is to make the elements on the back darker than those in the front, which will make the viewer understand that there is layers of depth in the illustration. These are the basic steps for creating dot work using a scatter brush. One of the plus sides of applying a dot work layer is that you will be able to see the volume in your illustration even before applying colors to it, which will make it have a more finished look even after just applying the base colors. This will help you by letting you know if something is a bit off and you might want to do some corrections before starting the next step, or just by giving you a better image of how the illustration will look like when finished. Once you are done applying the dot work texture to the whole illustration, it's time to move on to the base colors. We already have a good idea of what colors to use, since we selected them when we were working on the concept for the illustration. So let's get started.